Welcome to SHOT Show TV. I'm David Lombardo, and I have a special guest, Ryan Cleckner, who is a firearms attorney. And I say that's special because I do expert witness work, so this should be a good conversation.
All right.
So you've got a whole bunch of stuff going on.
I do.
For instance, tell us a little bit about Gun University.
Gun University, we're so excited how much it's taking off. We started it a couple years ago as a resource for education and information about firearms and ammunition and accessories. We start from brand new gun owners, so gun safety, safe gun storage. What is a gun? What's the difference between a handgun and a rifle? It's just those basic questions to walk people along that path. And the whole university style is we graduate with more and more training and more information as you go.
What other types of courses do you teach?
Well,
and where are you located?
So the company's out of Nashville, Tennessee. That's where we started. I just recently moved back to Arizona. So this is all online courses, all online articles and things like that. It goes all the way up to, we have, for example, all of Kyle Lamb's Viking Tactics courses on there. You can go through the training there and get those all online and enjoy it there. Or just articles on gun reviews. So one of the problems I think we have in the industry is we all want to see each other succeed and we all really get along well. But we all think everything's the greatest.
Yeah,
and sometimes it's not that it's the product is bad, but maybe it's a bad fit for that person. And so if a new person's looking for a firearm, and let's just say they just started getting into guns and they want to get into concealed carry and they saw a movie with a Desert Eagle 50 cal, maybe they think that's a great gun to concealed carry if no one ever told them it's not. So I'm not picking on the gun, I'm picking on the purpose. We wanted Gun University for a resource. When they go look for a review of that gun, they don't find 50 articles that say best gun ever, groundbreaking, breakthrough technology, like we often see. They're going to see an article from Gun University that says, hey, it's good for this purpose, not good for this purpose, this is our experience, and we actually took the university part far enough to give letter grades. So every gun in our catalog has a letter grade, where an A+ or a B- for that gun and for the purpose, and we just launched a part where you can come on and disagree with me. You can see that I didn't like a particular gun, and you now, as a reader, this is all a free website, you can now come on and give your grade, kind of like a Rotten Tomatoes for guns. And so when you're shopping for your next gun, we hope you come check us out and see what we thought about it, and maybe other people did too.
One of the things that I find very interesting as an expert witness is how much human factors come into play. People will go out and buy a firearm for any number of reasons, but they almost never think about the actual human factor interface, about is it too big for them, is it too small? Well, I like the gun. And the number of accidents that result from people having an inappropriate firearm for them, it really is very surprising how many times that happens.
Wrong firearm, not enough of the right kind of training. That's a big deal for me too. You know, I talk about, we try to educate even dealers and try to talk to them about it maybe being an upsell on that gun purchase, getting some training and how important it is. In my book, my first book is the Long Range Shooting Handbook. And in there I talk about all this great gear for shooting long range and how expensive it can be too. And maybe buy the wrong gear. I actually put a breakdown in there on what percentage of your money I think you should be putting on training and ammunition just for practicing for training.
Interesting.
Because I don't think people get enough training how to use the gun, how not to use the gun, right? If the last thing I'm going to bring myself to is a gunfight.
Oh yeah.
So what about some training on figuring out how not to have to get to your gun and get out of a situation? Medical training, if the gun did get used, what do you do after that? You know? I think people should get more.
So our viewers understand, you are uniquely qualified to teach long-range shooting. You were an Army Ranger sniper.
I was.
So that's long-range shooting.
That is long-range shooting, and that book actually started all these other projects I do because I figured out whether I do it well or not, I break things down simply. And there's so much training you get. The instructor spending time explaining how great they are and how impressive they are and how tough this is, and only the best of the best could possibly do this. I take the exact opposite approach, maybe to a fault, and I start the book off by saying, you can do this, it's not that complicated, here's how it works. And even when we get later into things like the spin of the earth and how that affects your bullet at long range, which it can, I start off by saying, stop worrying about this, go shoot and get better. You're going to jerk the trigger more than the spin of the earth is going to affect it. So anyway, so breaking things down, I did Gun University from that, trying to make it simple for people and not intimidating. My other big project is Rocket FFL. That's where I teach FFLs how to get their FFL, how to become an SOT, ATF compliance courses, hopefully broken down so simply that it makes it not confusing anymore.
One of the things that is sort of bothered me now for a fair amount of time. We've got a lot of good training available, and there's a lot of good competitive things, 3-gun and all of that it's really good, high quality stuff. But there's a lack of understanding. You were in the Army, I was a Vietnam guy. There's a lack of understanding between being able to shoot the gun, but being able to shoot the gun when somebody is shooting at you.
For sure.
And people don't get really wrap their brain around that. They go, well, I can hit an X at 200 yards. When somebody's shooting at you, well, sure, why not? Well.
Yeah, well, so your point is so valid. I'll take it even to not self-defense situations, just even hunting, which is a lot less stressful than getting shot at. People will spend time, I'll see them, getting ready for the hunting season on a bench with sandbags and the gun locked in a vise to shoot it to zero, make sure it's working. I think unless you can knock out a couple jumping jacks and a couple push-ups to get your heart rate going,
exactly,
stand up, hold the rifle without resting on anything, and hit a pie plate at 100 yards. I mean, that's harder than people think. And when they're hunting, they can't hit that kill zone because they practiced on the bench. Well, same as self-defense. If you're just practicing hitting that bullseye.
Dave Grossman, are you familiar with him?
For sure, on killing.
Yeah, exactly, that's exactly right. Dave Grossman on killing. He's a retired lieutenant colonel. And basically what Grossman points out is nothing in our DNA that prepares us for someone trying to kill us. There's a cognitive disconnect when that happens. And one of the reasons Ranger School is such an unbearably, disgustingly horrible event is because they basically beat that out of you and they teach you how to cope with the fact that somebody's actually a belligerent. And that's a huge step. I mean, that's a big difference between being good at 3-gun and being good at actually being in a gunfight with somebody.
Well, for sure. And I don't think you're saying that 3-gun's bad.
Oh, no, absolutely not.
I think it's great because
that's a mechanical thing.
Exactly right.
Yeah,
but it's not the decision making like I mentioned before. You're making a valid point on how are you going to react when it's happening, and I'm adding on before how are you going to stay out of the situation in the first place.
Exactly.
What kind of ego can you work on that you can take someone calling you a name and you don't escalate the situation and turn around and walk away, avoid the situation. And then after, what are you going to do when somebody gets shot? I like to joke that it's called self-defense, but all we seem to do is practice the offense part.
Well, it's true.
And so I want to defend and get away from it. And then if you're sitting there, the point I make in an article on Gun University actually, is if you're sitting there with holes in you, looking at the dead bad guy, did you win?
And you know well, if you kill another human being, bad guy too, you live with that for the rest of your life. It never leaves you.
Never leaves you. You're going to have incredible legal expenses. Our most popular articles are our CCW insurance articles. I want them to be the gun training stuff, but we wrote articles comparing all the self-defense insurance companies because that's such a big deal.
It is, and there's no Rosetta Stone. They're like all different.
Right, they are. Yeah. That was actually the hardest articles I wrote of the comparison.
Yeah.
Just putting a table together, how do you do that? But I say the example of having the holes in you is if you are dying, just because the bad guy's dead doesn't mean you won.
And that's another big issue because hitting the X's is great for competition, but in reality, you just want to hit him to divert his attention so that you can actually
or get away first,
get away, whatever you're going to do.
Yeah.
It's a very intricate thing, and I think we need more training that emphasize that. But it's hard to do that.
It is. I think getting people the right mindset of letting them know it's a tool and saying things like how I'm looking at defense. The goal is to protect yourself and your family. That may require you to kill someone. That may require you to run away and not get in the gunfight at all. Just remember what the goal is.
My preference is to not get in the gunfight.
Exactly right. Yeah, focus on the defense.
Yeah.
If that's what the tool's there for, you need to know how to use it and under stress.
Well, Ryan Cleckner, happy to have you on the show. Tell people how they can find your website.
I appreciate it. Just gununiversity.com is the best spot. You can find all my projects, everything I'm working on there.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for having me.
For SHOT Show TV, I'm David Lombardo.